Hey, what's up, Loyola, and welcome back to the Cover 3. I'm your host, Rob Fredrickson, and joining me again is Mike Valenti and Brendan Hyland, and Phil Fusco will be joining us later in the show to talk about the NHL Playoffs. But if you don't know what we do on the Cover 3, we go over three main topics in sports. So let's get right into it right now, guys, and start with the NBA Finals. Coming up, it's the final week of the season, so the NBA is coming to the end of its shortened 66-game schedule, and with the playoff spots all but solidified, there are still plenty of question marks heading into the playoffs, most notably Metta World Peace, also known as Ron Artest, was recently ejected from a Lakers win over the Thunder for giving a vicious elbow to James Harden after he scored a basket. It was completely undeserved, and there will certainly be suspensions. But guys, my questions to you is, what is the appropriate suspension, Mike, and how will this affect the Lakers' chances in the playoffs now?
Well, knowing David Stern, he's very concerned about the image of the NBA. Something like this forces people not to watch the league. This is why the league is struggling now, too, in ratings. If I was David Stern, I would never allow Ron Artest to dribble basketball again. But he probably will get a 10-game suspension. I would also even try to suspend him for the entire playoffs, maybe, or give him the 10-game suspension at the start of next year. Also, this is absolutely pathetic. There's no respect for people in sports. If Rafi Torres could get 25 games for his hit on Marion Hossa, this is Ron Artest, or AKA Metta World Peace. His elbow was a lot more malicious, and there's no room for this in sports, and there's just no respect.
Yeah, Brennan?
Yeah, I think Metta World Peace will probably get somewhere between 5 and 6 games. I personally think he should get more. I just don't think that David Stern will come down that hard on him, especially this close to the playoffs, because, as you said, the ratings, I think that people will want to see Metta World Peace come back, the reaction that he's going to get from the crowds, from his teammates, from opposing players, things like that. How it affects the Lakers, I don't really think it does. I think they're still going to cruise past Denver in the first round. I think, if anything, it's just a depth thing. They have to play Kobe more minutes, maybe play Matt Barnes some more minutes, but it's good because it gives Barnes more minutes. It gives Devin Ebanks, somebody who really stepped up his game when World Peace got ejected, gives him more minutes. So it allows other guys to get kind of confidence in the playoffs, but I don't really think it affects them much.
I mean, what we're hearing right now, the reports are about 10-game suspension, which, I agree with you, Mike. I don't think he should be allowed to play, at least in this playoffs. I think that was one of the most vicious, ruthless things I've ever seen on a basketball court, and it was so uncalled for. It wasn't like there was, James Harden even said anything to him. He was literally running back, and we'll show you, you saw the clip of it by now. He was running back from after Ron Artest scored a basket, and out of excitement, and you saw it was completely deliberate. And in my eyes, he should be out for the playoffs. That was completely uncalled for. And like you said, it's not. You shouldn't see that on a basketball court.
I'm sorry, but he should have the shortest leash out of any player in the NBA.
Exactly.
What he did with the Pacers was disgusting. Yep. This is disgusting again. David Stern should have told him, you act up one more time, and either you get suspended for another full year or you're never playing basketball again. And this is one of those things where it's absolutely disgusting. And what you're saying about how it's going to affect the Lakers, I think it might hurt him now because they have no depth at forward. They're going to have to play Devin Ebanks and Jordan Hill, who haven't really played that much the entire year. Those guys, although they may be kind of talented, it seems like, Jordan Hill's falling out of favor with the Knicks, the Rockets, and now he's on the Lakers, and he's just been picked up. And Devin Ebanks, we don't know how good he's going to be.
Right.
So for me, I think it hurts their depth at forward, and it just logs more minutes on Kobe.
I think that the one thing that people were saying initially was it's all going to depend on how hurt Harden is. Well, now you know that Harden has a concussion, and he's at least going to be out for this week until the playoffs start. And we'll see how effective he can even be once he comes back, because his game is predicated on getting to the rim and attacking the basket. And I think that if Harden does have a concussion and if he has to sit a game or two, I think that this incident affects the Thunder more than it affects the Lakers, and I think that we saw that in the result of this game.
Yeah, absolutely. The Lakers ended up winning in double overtime, and James Harden wasn't able to return for the entire second half and overtime. So that definitely affected the Thunder. But I think that, like we're saying, I think that it's going to hurt the Lakers more than people think, because we're talking about depth, like you're saying, Mike, and Devin Ebanks and Matt Barnes. And the thing about Matt Barnes is he's actually has a sprained ankle. He's nursing a sprained ankle right now, so he's not even 100% healthy, and he's kind of old also. So.
Even with Metta, Metta is still a better scorer on the floor than Matt Barnes is. Matt Barnes chips in 3 or 4 points a game. Metta's still, he might not be the same player, but he's still going to score more than Matt Barnes.
But against a team like the Nuggets, who don't really have the size inside to bang with Gasol or Bynum, there's no reason why those two shouldn't have field days in that series, and Kobe is likely to go off for 30 any night.
I agree with you that they could have passed the Nuggets probably, but I really feel like since we did learn that it is a concussion and that James Harden is out for a couple of games now, I could definitely see this series, Stern coming down on him hard, maybe for the entire playoffs. They're speculating 10 games, but we'll see what happens. We'll keep you updated with that. And let's hop into topic number 2 right now, which is the MLB update. The MLB season has officially kicked off and is in full flux right now. Some players have gotten off to some bad starts, while others, are paving their early MVP candidate seasons. Albert Pujols is an example of a bad one of the Los Angeles Angels. He's yet to hit a home run, which is very uncharacteristic of him, and he's only batting .246. Derek Jeter, on the other hand, the 37-year-old of the New York Yankees, is batting .411 with 4 home runs and 13 RBIs. But guys, my question to you is, will these players keep up their current streaks, or will they turn it around in Pujols' situation, or will Jeter keep it going? Mike, what do you think?
Well, Pujols is still top 5 position player in the league, arguably still one of the best players in the game, period. I think he's going to be fine. He's with a new team. You got to give him time to get used to his teammates and playing in the American League also. He hasn't seen all these pitchers yet as well. I think he'll be fine. He'll still hit his 35 home runs. He'll still hit close to 300 and driving his 120 RBIs. He doesn't worry me. Now, on the other hand, with Jeter, historically, Jeter in April, when he hits 330, 340, the rest of the year, he hits over 300. In '99, he hit 370. He finished off hitting 349. In 2006, he hit 390 in April, and then he wound up hitting 346. The only time that Jeter started off hot and then faded during the regular season was 2 years ago when he hit 270. I think Jeter this year may hit 330, 340 and be a legitimate MVP candidate. He looks like he's almost like he's 25, 26 again. And if you want to say the top 3 players in baseball right now, I'll go with Matt Kemp, Josh Hamilton, and Derek Jeter has to be the third person.
Yeah, I think that the thing with Pujols right now is I think he's trying too hard. I think that he wants to hit that home run, get kind of the monkey off his back, prove to the fans of of Los Angeles that he is worth all the money that they're giving him. I saw a stat today that said that 89% of the balls he's hit this year have been to the left side of the infield. That's an absurd stat. He's a better hitter than that. He hits to all fields. I think he's trying too hard. The Jeter thing, I'm with you. I think that, he's going to continue on his tear. Obviously, it helps with the talent that he has around him in that order, but he's a good player. Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer, and I think that right now, at his old age, I think that he's kind of motivated to do well, and I think he's going to have a breakout season, more or less.
A comeback season, I guess, if you will.
Thank you.
Well, what I believe about Albert Pujols is I think he's going to be fine as well. Like you said, Mike, he's got to still see all of those AL pictures. He hasn't seen them very much. And if you guys remember last year, we were talking about him in the beginning of the year, how he just got off to a real slow start last year. We were talking about if he's going to get his numbers back up or if this is going to be the first bad season he has. And, of course, he got them back up last year. We know that. And he was a World Series champion.
Took his team to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it's not like with him he's striking out. I mean, he's putting the ball in play. He's just not hitting the ball as well as he normally does. So I would be more concerned, I guess, if he was striking out and his strikeout numbers were way high, but they're not. So I can't fault him. If he's hitting the ball and he's hitting it hard, he's just hitting it right at people. I mean, that's baseball. That's what happens.
Yeah. And as for Derek Jeter, I have to just say thank you, Minka Kelly, because after he broke up with her, Derek Jeter has been on an absolute tear after the All-Star break last year. I think everybody knows he batted .327.
I think Bobby V, you could blame for that also.
Yeah, so, I mean, he absolutely, and I think the best part about it is he's hitting the ball extremely hard. He's not getting these bloopers. He's not, getting any, infield singles or anything like that. He's hitting the ball over, outfielders' heads, and that's a good sign of Derek Jeter, in this old age. But he's playing like he's a 25-year-old, like you said, Mike.
He also has 30 hits in team's first 16 games. That's the first time anyone's done that in the history of baseball, and this is in April too. So at this pace, he'll break each Royals hitting record. I mean, that's questionable, but
we'll see.
I still think Jeter's going to have a great year.
This would be a tough pace to keep up, but he's having a great season as a veteran, and we hope he keeps it up, and hopefully Albert can turn his season around. And now on to the NHL playoffs. The Stanley Cup has already resulted in some upsets and has busted many experts' picks, with teams like the Penguins, the Canucks, and the Blackhawks all eliminated in the first round. The field has been left wide open. So in your opinion, guys, who rises up now, and who's that favorite to win the Stanley Cup, Mike?
I'm just going to have to go with the Flyers, the way they played against the Penguins. I just want to say I picked the Canucks and Penguins Stanley Cup. That really worked out really well. Just want to say that. But, I just love the way the Flyers played. They got anything they want in that series versus the Penguins, and I think they should be the favorites.
Yeah, I mean, Claude Giroux was probably the biggest story in that whole series, which is one of the best things for the Flyers. He's got to play like a superstar for them to go deep into the playoffs. Ilya Bryzgalov was kind of on and off. I had the Rangers and the Blues. I'm going to stick with the Blues because, honestly, the only team I could see giving them a problem is the Predators with Pecorino. But right now, the Blues absolutely dusted off the Sharks, so I'm going to say stick with the Blues. And if the Rangers can get out of this series with the Senators, you know, the Flyers have a lot of problems with the Rangers, especially during the regular season. And I'm going to hope that comes through during the playoffs, too. I'm going to stick with my picks. I think the Rangers struggled a little bit. They got to put the puck in the net right now. They're really struggling. Gaborik and Richards have really got to step up. And, you know, for a guy like Richards who's been there, who's been to the Stanley Cup with Tortorella, he's got to step up, especially in that game on Thursday, and bring the Rangers to the next round.
Absolutely. And, you know, I had the Rangers as well, but then I had the Canucks on the other side like you, Mike. So I'm going to stick with the Rangers, but like you said, they've been struggling with the Ottawa Senators a little bit. It's, you know, they got to put that puck in the net. You know, we're not scoring as we should. You know, Lundqvist had that game 1-0 the other day when they lost, you know, 2-0. And, you know, it just seems like we couldn't get it in. I think he had 42 saves, Ottawa's goalie Anderson. So, you know, the Rangers are still in it, but they got to get through this Game 7. But in the West, you know, the St. Louis Blues, like you said, Phil, they have just been playing tremendous, and they took down San Jose very easily. And then other teams like, you know, Pecorino and Nashville's been playing very well. And, Mike, you know, you had this discussion with me. You told me before, like, why are these teams that, you know, are more, you know, physical teams, bruisers, why do you think they're moving past these first rounds, past the more talented teams?
Well, if you listen to Dave Tippett after the game against the Blackhawks, you know, he was explaining how, you know, the Boston Bruins really started the style. You know, the Bruins don't really have a superstar forward yet. Sagan might be that. But right now they have a bunch of second, third-line guys, big guys. You know, they chip, they chase the puck, they dump, they bang people around, they play great defense, and they also have a great goalie. And you see in the last 2 years in the playoffs, these teams that have less talent, they have a lot of third-line players. They like to bang bodies around. They block the blue line against the Blackhawks. You know, people like Kane, Taves, and Keith were not allowed to bring the puck over the blue line. They didn't have that much ice to skate with. You look at the Canucks too. The Kings did the same exact thing to them. You know, they banged around the Sundin twins. Kessler didn't have a great series either. And I just think these less talented teams, you know, they have great goalies, great defensemen, but they know how to play the blue line. They give these, you know, superstars no ice, and that's how you beat these more talented teams.
And completely agree with that. You know, it's come to a league where it's starting to become more physical. Guys like you even see in the Ranger series, Chris Neal has been an influence, somebody who really doesn't even have that much talent compared to the best players in the league, but he's been a force because he's been able to get in front of the net, and that's when it comes down to in playoff hockey. It's who's going to work hard. Guys like Sidney Crosby, they're knocked out because he did nothing, along with Malkin. Jonathan Taves and Pat Kane did all they could, but they don't have enough depth on that team, really, to go past a team like the Coyotes. And even like with the Rangers the other day, you saw it. Toward the end of the game, they're starting to play bunched up, defensive hockey, guys along the line. They're not going to let guys like Jason Spezza beat them. Yep. And when it comes down to it, you got to have a good goaltender to stop the puck. So it really is starting to come down to a serious defensive league where you need those second, third line guys to come up big in the playoffs.
I think it's, you know, I respect these teams for winning. You know, you win. But I think it's funny because the NHL tried to change the rules around to get more exciting scoring and everything. And now it looks like the league has figured out the rules again, and now these teams are almost playing the same way they used to, where that's why you saw the Devils back in the day win all the time, because they play a trap system and you couldn't score on them. And now it looks like it's happening again.
So last question, guys. Stanley Cup champion, Mike?
I'm going to go with the Flyers, and I have them playing the Blues.
I got the Rangers playing the Blues.
I'm still going the Rangers, baby, all day. So this will be our last episode of the Cover 3 as 3 graduating seniors. It's a sad day. But, Mike, anything you want to say to the fans before we head out?
It's been 3.5 years. I just want to thank Rob for allowing me to be on the show this long. You know, I had a blast. It was awesome doing this, something on the side. And, you know, it's just something I want to do when I get older, too.
Absolutely.
So, you know, it was a great time. Hopefully, you know, they continue with the show. And you know, I'd like to thank Phil, Miles, Campbell, Sean Kilkenny, Brendan, everybody who was on the show, too.
Yep.
We had a great time.
Yep. Phil?
I mean, thank you guys for having me on the show. You guys did a phenomenal job. You know, it's gone on for 4 years now, and you guys have really done a spectacular job. It's sad to see it. Sad to see it end.
Well, I mean, first I want to thank you guys, Brendan, Steve inside, Eric Strand, you know, a bunch of people who made this show happen, Dave Gers. You know, it takes a lot of work to get the show going, and I'm just glad I could have been a part of it for 3 years. But Loyal is my last episode of the Cover 3, but you'll see us next semester. Take care, Loyal.